should put any outtakes for real.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Hail Yes, the Detroit Free Press podcast about University of Michigan athletics. I'm Tony Garcia, Michigan beat writer for the Free Press, joined as always by our Big Ten insider, Sabin. We are I always like to describe where we are for those listening on audio. I'm not sure how to describe this. We're on the second floor of the Media Hotel, which is the JW Marriott just outside downtown Houston, here for the national championship. Michigan, Washington, that's of course what we're here to talk about. And I guess it doesn't really matter, but we're in some sort of auxiliary room. We just wandered the hotel for 15 minutes to try to find a background that had a championship logo behind it without people talking around. No such luck. So this is where we have, this is what we came up with right now.
Yeah, awesome restaurant, and I would love to try, but apparently I'm not going to be able to because it looks like it's shut down.
It does. Maybe a little bit of pans in the background. Anyways, today was the first full day in Houston, media day today. Michigan, Washington both spoke. Other than meeting Ben, Kirk Herbstreit's dog, which was certainly what the most people were excited about in my mentions. What was your main takeaway from today?
Yeah, it just seemed like the players were in obviously good spirits, ready to kind of take on Washington. I mean, it's been a whirlwind for them. I mean, just this past Monday, they beat Alabama in overtime in the Rose Bowl. Had to fly back to Ann Arbor, spend a couple days there. Then they fly down to Houston, and so they're just probably trying to get their legs and bearings and trying to kind of catch up on the rest. In fact, some of them said that we're kind of going on, whatever. I mean, we're going to this is the last push that they have to make, and it's really comes down to just their ability to kind of channel whatever that last energy and just kind of let it all hang out there.
Doesn't that feel familiar? Like, not a lot of sleep right now, but we just give it everything you got. It's a national championship push.
Sure.
Certainly that was sort of the tenor that they struck. And I mean, Jim Harbaugh said it on the way here that they were trying to catch up on rest. But another thing that sort of struck me was when a lot of the players mentioned their last practice at Schembeckler Hall and that discussion around that and how they knew that, but it hadn't really set in fully. But still, that like all year they're talking about this one track mind, right? Well, this is the end of the track. This is the end of the road. This is what Michael Barrett said. He's like, literally, this is why we came back. Not like, I mean, all the games was the hope to get here, but this game is the actual reason they came back, and now they're here, and you can sort of feel it. And so I guess there's nothing else but to X and O's this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And what everybody's talking about, let's start with that first. Washington offense, Michigan defense. You can read about it on Freep.com. I kind of got into it a little bit with the wide receivers on the defensive backs specifically. Let's talk about that matchup. I feel like, is that the side of the ball where this game is won and lost?
Probably, but I also think it's won and lost whether Michigan can run the ball and play a little bit of keep away. I think part of their emphasis is going to be on time of possession and limiting the amount of possessions for Washington and play exposure for the defense as it relates to Michael Penix. Michigan has actually defended the fewest, averaged the fewest plays per game that they've had to defense against in the country. So like 59.5 plays per game that Michigan has had to play. Again, and that's been a big factor in why they have the top-ranked defense. I mean, they're fresh. They're they're not exposed as much to the big plays maybe as they would, if they had to defend more. And so, 59 plays is not a lot in college football. I mean, some of these teams average 80 or more plays. So that's, when you have 20 to 25 fewer plays per game that you have to defend, that means you have 20 to 25 fewer potential strikes that you're going to have to, potentially face. And so they're just one of those plays could end up having a huge effect. And so, that is a huge impact, and that has a lot to do with what they're able to do offensively, which is, again, ground and pound and control the clock.
Yeah, it's true. However, 59 plays from Washington are going to be the toughest 59 plays they've had to defend this year yet, right?
Probably,
it starts with Michael Penix, sixth year senior. We say that casually, like a normal sentence. That used to be like an anomaly.
Yes.
Now there's guys like Alan Bowman, former Michigan quarterback, just granted a 7th year of eligibility. It's going to be so nice when that COVID year is done and you don't have to keep doing like scholarship math. But anyways, you got Michael Penix, who is a 6-year guy. Michigan familiar with him from his time at Indiana, but he's hit a new level at Washington, and that's where this offense starts. And then the 3 wide receivers on the outside. Rome Odunze is the one. If you are picking one, it's him. But then they got McMillan, and then they have Polk. Thank you. There's Jalen and like Jalen, right?
Yeah.
Like the names are similar, but like Polk has who missed 2 games, right? 1,100 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns. McMillan missed half the season. He only played in 6 games. He has 4 touchdowns and 520 some odd yards. But Rome Odunze, 87 catches, 1,500 some yards, 13 touchdowns. Bolitnikov, runner-up, very much had an argument for it. That's a ton of talent. and then you have the best offensive line, quote unquote, the Joe Moore Award winners. That's a lot to contend with.
But Michael Penix also protects himself because he just gets the ball out real quickly. I mean, he has a very quick release and really just has a firm understanding of the offense that Kalen DeBoer has installed. Obviously, Kalen DeBoer was his offensive coordinator at Indiana way back when, which seems like eons ago. But I mean, again, Michael Penix was the guy who beat Michigan in 2020. And as I wrote earlier this week, he may have actually inspired Michigan to install the current defense that he's going to face because, they got torched, with a lot of crossers and other things in that game, against Don Brown's defense. And, whether it was Ohio State or Indiana that year or whatever, it was what ultimately led to this defensive scheme switch that has really been at the backbone of Michigan's 39-3 rise that has led them to the national championship game. So if you want to, blame Michael Penix, for being the guy that Michigan has to face to overcome that, or you want to credit him for being the guy that actually kind of may have inspired Michigan to be here, I mean, you could probably do both.
Sounds like they've been preparing for him for 3 years then, in a way, right? Like for this type of matchup. And then we didn't even mention Dylan Johnson, the running back, who it looks like, sounds like
is going to
play.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would think
he was on a cart in the late 4th quarter 5 days ago, and now he's going to play. Pretty remarkable. The other side, I think maybe this side's getting overlooked just a little bit, right? Because Michigan's offense put together 3 nice drives against Alabama and then scored in overtime. Other than that, some punts, a couple 3-and-outs, and Alabama's defense much better than Washington's, but Michigan's offense has not looked like just a boom boom march down the field juggernaut for some weeks. Are we just assuming that Michigan is going to move the ball, or with a healthy JJ McCarthy, is it safe to assume that?
I don't know if you can assume that. I mean, somebody I was talking to, feels like the game could really hinge on the fact whether Washington just jumps all over Michigan and it comes out and then it's going to become a high-scoring game, or if Michigan, somehow takes it to them early on offensively and are able to kind of, again, institute that ground and pound, wear down Washington's defense over the course and kind of establish the strength at the line of scrimmage. So, I think the game is really going to be decided pretty early on, based on how which team really gains the upper hand.
You say someone you're talking to, makes me curious who this was who said this, but all right. So who wins?
I think Michigan wins. I think, again, they're more of a complete team, I think, than even Washington is. And I think, again, they can do some things offensively that will limit Penix's impact and keep him off the field. And that's kind of been their MO when they played against some of these teams that have high-flying offenses, is that they'll try to limit the possessions of the other team. And it's a good formula. It's what really has worked for Jim Harbaugh since the very beginning. So I think, he goes with what his recipe is of success, and it ends up leading to the national title that Michigan has always wanted since he's returned. This is everything that everybody expected from Jim Harbaugh when he got there in December 2014, and now it's here, and I think it's very possible that he'll be hoisting the trophy at the end.
The other part of that recipe for success is minimizing mistakes, right? Michigan, the best in the country in turnover margin, plus 17, and the fewest penalties committed in the nation, 39. And Michigan had a couple of questionable penalties in the last game. Only 2, but the one against Blake Corum late in the 4th quarter, uncharacteristic, could have cost them. And then the muff punt by Samaj Morgan that they lost, and then another by Jake Thaw. So if they play like that, then that might leave Washington in it. But if Michigan does not turn the ball over, I think they're undefeated under Jim Harbaugh when they don't do that, right? And so they're really, really tough to beat, and that's what they've done really well this year. I don't see them turning it over. This team is on a mission. It feels like a lot of people have said this. If they were going to lose, it felt like maybe Alabama was that spot. And you cannot take Washington lightly. It's so easy to say you can't take Washington lightly, then pick against them. You actually can't. Michigan can lose this game. That said, the amount of sweat equity they have, all of the years, all of the days, and the practices that these guys have had together, it really just feels like their moment, right? It just feels like.
Yeah, I mean, they've overcome a lot of things this year. Again, a lot of them are self-inflicted. I mean, whether it's a cheating scandal, the 2 suspensions for Harbaugh, just all the strife and turbulence in the month of November when they went through the toughest stretch of their schedule. I mean, they survived that. They've had again 4 different coaches
saying they're going to take the Big Ten to court and then just walking it back.
Yeah, and they've had 5 different coaches, including Harbaugh. I mean, lead them on the field, and it hasn't interfered with any of their success or disrupted them in the least. And so I think. When you look at Michigan and the way they've kind of survived this season, why can't they survive one more test? I mean, after what has been a crazy 1 week in and of itself, I mean, with, having to play on the West Coast, go back to Michigan, come down to Houston and play another major football game against, again, probably the most toughest quarterback that they've faced all season.
Yeah, as we record this, 8 p.m. Saturday night Central, so 48 hours from now, the championship will be being played, and in 50 hours we will know if Michigan is the national champion or just what could have been. And of course, where to go for the coverage. Freak.com, Hail Yes, wherever you get your podcasts. I think that's it for the night. Time to get some rest. So for Reiner, I'm Tony. Thanks for watching.